Weather report.
How's everybody doing today?
Doing well. Yourself?
I am doing great. Thank you all for being here today. As you all know, today marks 100 days in office since I was sworn in as the mayor of the city of St. Louis. And while these first 100 days have not looked like what I envisioned for when I was sworn in to office, we still have a lot to celebrate. On day 31, our city faced historic devastation in the wake of the EF3 tornado that tore through parts of West and North St. Louis on May 16th. This catastrophic event fundamentally changed the lives of over 10,000 city residents, fundamentally altering many of our neighborhoods. and has and still remains our number one task at hand for the city of St. Louis. And yet, in the midst of this devastation, and despite the monumental challenges that lie ahead, I have never been more inspired by and committed to the city of St. Louis than I am today. This tragedy put on display the resilience of our city, and it really showcased our capacity to cross traditional boundaries and to work together to show up for our neighbors and need collaboration, coordination between elected officials, both at the local, state, and federal levels. And I have been and remain so immensely grateful to the immense generosity and commitment from many of our partners who mobilized to meet the need of our local community, from everybody from volunteers, nonprofit organizations, the construction industry, and just an immense number of volunteers who mobilized immediately to help our community in need. We have a monumental task ahead of us, obviously, in restoring and rebuilding our communities, those ravaged by the storm. But reinvesting in our aging infrastructure also remains a priority. Our aging systems that hold our city back, and ensuring that every resident has the opportunity to thrive in a safe and vibrant community. I believe that it is in the spirit in which we have really been able to succeed over the last 100 days that will get us to where we need to go in the future. And I continue to hold to building a new, better future for our St. Louis with collaboration and innovation as we work to rebuild our city. I'd like to highlight a few things that we've been able to accomplish. As you know, we've named many new members to our leadership team, including Ben Johnson, who's here today, Sean Dace, our public safety director, Otis Williams, who's been serving as our interim director of the St. Louis Development Corporation, Emily Martin, who's recently stepped up to serve on the Civil Service Commission, and Julia Nix, who has stepped into the role as the Chief Recovery and Neighborhood Transformation Officer. And of course, you may know we launched national searches for our long-term leadership of the St. Louis Development Corporation and the Director of Personnel. We also named and established a transition advisory committee. They have been working on a report to advise us on key issues. We had 6 transition advisory committees in total. They launched an effort to really offer robust ideas and recommendations on our administration's key priorities. We're excited to host them here later today, and they really represent a wide range of leaders across, with backgrounds across different sectors, including the business community, nonprofit community, labor community, and citizen leaders from across the city. So I'm excited to meet with them later today and really get to work following this on their recommendations. I want to focus on a few key areas that we've been focusing on over the last 100 days. As you know, the tornado has been a major part of our focus for the last 100 days, certainly the last 61 days of the 100. Of course, we have a deep scar across our community following the May 16th tornado. It has also represented a monumental task, a challenge for our local government, which was tasked with leading the response in the wake of just a lot of federal turmoil and changing rules and regulations related to response to national disasters across the United States. Our city workers, and of course so many volunteers across our community stepped up with this Herculean effort. Their labor, I will say on behalf of our city workforce, really deserves our thanks and recognition. The recovery, of course, means so much more than just cleanup. It calls for unity. And I really have to thank our city departments for working together here to make the first wave of this effort possible. As you know, some of the things that we did as a city following the tornado, we worked immediately to implement a state of emergency. This really cleared up funding and allowed us to take some of the necessary actions our city workforce was able to do. We worked across with fire departments and EMS first responders across the region to immediately search over 2,500 structures, responded to over 400 emergencies in just the first 24 hours. Working with Ameren and the city's water division, Borough Public Service, and other partners, we were able to reestablish electricity and water. We really focused initially on making sure we had access to some of our most critical public entities, including hospitals, schools, cell towers. We wanted to make sure supermarkets and other things that the public needed access to within the first 48 hours we had access to. We, of course, instituted successfully a curfew in conjunction with our St. Louis Police Department to secure the area impacted by the tornado, but really to reduce the risk of looting. And I'm really proud of the effort that we were able to clear our roadways. This was done, of course, with our city workforce, but really in conjunction with the construction industry, who came to the table with just an enormous lift of manpower. We were able to remove almost 6 million cubic feet of debris thanks to this effort. And while that is just an enormous amount of debris, it really only represents a fraction of the debris that we have to remove, and we are committed to removing from our communities to make our communities whole again. We traversed traditional political boundaries, working with Governor Kehoe and the State Emergency Management Agency to bring in our National Guard to really stand up some drop sites for debris. Within the impact zone, partnering with SLPS to do so, and then the Missouri Department of Natural Resources and the city's health department. Restoring signals, all those sorts of things happen really, really, really quickly. One of the things that I'm most proud of, we stood up stlrecovers.com, a centralized location for information, so residents and folks around the region had a centralized place to get the most up-to-date information possible, so that we could also kind of centralize volunteer opportunities and other things of that nature. I could go on and on. We had a whole host of things related to the tornado response, but I think, really in recognition of some of the highlights here, I'll say that the large-scale disaster assistance center that we stood up at in partnership with Chaffetz, we had over 30 organizations there that served over 3,000 households, 8,500 folks within the first few weeks, just trying to connect people to resources. It was just a tremendous lift and really, really impactful for folks. Securing the additional funding was critical. We worked closely with Governor Kehoe's office and the state legislators to secure an unprecedented amount of relief for our residents, including $100 million in disaster assistance, specifically to the city of St. Louis, up to $5,000 income tax credit per household per year for tornado-impacted individuals, and $25 million to increase disaster assistance housing response grants for renters and homeowners. This is at the state level, and just a huge lift as we move forward. On the local legislation side, our office worked in close coordination with the Board of Aldermen on several key legislative initiatives. Board Bill 23, which expands the eligibility to the Impacted Tenants Fund. Board Bill 24, which gives our city assessor the power to make pro-rata reduction in tornado damage property assessments. Board Bill 28, which reappropriated $5 million of community development block grant funds for tornado emergency home repair and home assistance. Board Bill 29, which accepted $7 million in PRO housing grant funds, and of course Board Bill 31, which allocated $30 million in RAM's interest towards tornado relief. We also implemented executive orders to focus $5.4 million in ARPA building stabilization funds to really be deployed immediately, to be deployed very discreetly in the tornado impacted zone for tornado impacted property owners. And we launched recovery funds with the St. Louis Community Foundation to raise funds for short and long-term recovery needs. Getting outside of the tornado, we also, it's important that we continue our focus on high-quality city services. While we were experiencing the tornado, we recognized how important it was to streamline folks' interaction with Citizen Service Bureau. We launched the 311, which is a shortcut to getting into our Citizen Service Bureau, making it easier for folks to interface with complaints with our city services. We improved street conditions. We filled over 1,800 potholes since April 15th, reducing the backlog of this critical service by 70%. We completed repaving on major arterial roads, including we just recently opened the 7th Street from Walnut to Washington Avenue. This is a project I worked on as an alderperson. I was really proud to work to be able to cut that ribbon just last week. Broadway Boulevard from Cole to Shoto, Market Street 7th to Broadway, and the Convention Plaza from Broadway to 7th. We also started working on critical paving projects, including Union between Page and Delmar, Kings Highway between Gravois and Vandevender, and adding new bike lanes between Gravois and Christie. We've been working on some backlogs with our personnel department, working on specifically critical services, expanding hiring to some time-sensitive things. We want to make sure we're better positioned next summer to be able to hire lifeguards and other seasonal workers, so working on the process to get that done next year. A little sidetracked by the tornado, but remains a critical priority for us as we move forward. On the economic transformation and inclusive growth front, it's important that we are continuing to deploy our ARPA funds and reevaluating that process. We have a targeted deadline of 2026, which we are working towards. We shored up staffing for plan review and building division. We know this was a major stopgap, a major issue for not just developers, but folks looking to repair their own homes, deck review, small scale investments that homeowners, property owners, business owners were looking to make in their properties were backlogged. And as of today, the examination staffing is now at 90% capacity, a huge shift from where we were when we took office. We also paused key projects to reevaluate and ensure viability, including the Bi-State Green Line. It's critically important, especially under new federal regulations, that we have project viability here when we have limited dollars for public transit. We want to make sure that we are investing these in the most effective and efficient way possible. We also paused the private building stabilization program, which allowed us to dovetail shifting that program to meet the needs of our tornado victims, providing that $5 million support to them. We just recently launched a water utility assistance program. This program will deploy $1 million in American Rescue Plan Act to assist residents with paying past due water accounts. This will allow us to keep water on for folks. Are we okay? Okay. And I want to also point out that we've got, we worked with Congressman Bell's office on some critical investment funding for the federal fiscal year 2026 federal budget cycle, including $2 million to replace the Midtown Bridge, $1.5 million to on the renovation of the city's fire training tower. We've got some funding for EMS training lab in there, $2 million to support a really exciting project on MLK, the Northside Youth and Senior Center in the Ville neighborhood, and $3.2 million to the Southside Senior Center to improve seniors' access to resources and quality of life. On the public safety and justice side, while I remain committed to doing everything we can to support the local control of our police department, I did take place as a new commissioner in our first police commission meeting just last week. I am committed to providing the lens of community on that board and transparency, and I demonstrated that in our first meeting. We, as you know, identified some issues with our tornado sirens. We restored 90% functionality to the existing sirens as of this week. We've also added an automated rapid warn technology, and we have expedited plans to fully modernize our existing tornado siren system. We've identified the required funding, and the contracts are secured for that. So we will be moving forward with that project in the very, very near future to modernize our sirens across the city. We also improved access to mental health resources within our city's Justice Center. We finalized a groundbreaking contract with the Missouri Department of Mental Health to provide in-house mental health services, cutting wait times from 14 months to an immediate access to MDHMH. They will fund that with staffs and services that'll launch next week. We also launched the Honor Dorm Initiative at the CJC. This started a designated living area for model detainees engaged in work work or programming offering increased privileges to promote rehabilitation within the CJC. We've also done a few other things, including expanding our book access, working with the St. Louis Public Library system there. A few other things on that front. You may have seen we completed the traffic calming at the Ted Drews on Chippewa. We also launched a Complement a First Responder initiative. This was done in conjunction with our Division of Civilian Oversight. This program allows for residents to submit an accolade to recognize outstanding work by our police officers, and we've had quite a few already come in. On the transparency and good governance front, we reinstated access to the City Justice Center for the Detention Facilities Oversight Board. This was important to me to do even while we were working through tornado issues. I took time to make sure that I was present for that full tour. That was in June. I facilitated that and participated in that with our Detention Facilities Oversight Board. We also held numerous town halls throughout the tornado impacted area. We initiated a reform of our tow lot, pausing tow lot sales and reviewing the protocols there. We also recognize many of you here have submitted sunshine requests, and there have been some very, I would say, criticisms of our sunshine requests, and we recognize that. I also, I think there's been some fair criticism of that. We have convened our legal department on that and are working through those issues so that moving forward we can address those issues and move forward with sunshine requests in a much more expedited fashion. We're committed to doing that. I hope you'll just give us a few more days, weeks as we work through some of that stuff. And lastly, I'm proud to say that we are set to commemorate our 100 days and really thank our city workers with a party tomorrow. We are going to be celebrating our workers here. You see the tents being set up just to thank our city workers for all the work that's been done over the last 100 days. And with that, I'll turn it over and answer questions about our first 100 days in office.
Mayor Spencer, you did just outline the first 100 days. We are curious, with all of that and a lot still in the works, what does the next 30, the next 60 days look like?
Yeah, we're going to go on vacation. I'm totally kidding. I'm kidding. It was just a joke. No, I'm seriously. This is just really just another day in the office. I think the next 100 days look like continuing the work on the tornado front, and we are going to be, taking a shift as well, just to make sure that we are addressing the needs of our entire city. I'm really proud of the work that our tornado recovery office is standing up. That's really giving us the focus in one department that will allow the rest of our city to focus on, the rest of our city departments to be able to kind of share focus on addressing some of the backlogs, some of the unmet needs in other city departments. It's really important, like I mentioned, bringing Colonel Ben Johnson on board to really help streamline some of the city's services to be able to focus that effort. And so the next 100 days look like, a continued effort. And, we're not taking our foot off the gas.
Mayor, you mentioned that your agenda has been a little sidetracked by the tornado, and you've listed a number of ongoing projects here today. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, 100 days in, can you name one campaign promise that you've gotten done?
One campaign promise that I've gotten done? Well, I think, gosh, Mark, there were so many campaign promises. I think, we are focused on improving city services. I'm proud of the effort that we put together initially to really get the backlog of potholes done. We focused a lot of that during the campaign, but that's really just the beginning. I think about, having a level of transparency with those city services so that we can be communicating regularly, what that looks like when you're putting in requests and the return time on that. We've got a lot of work to do on that. I don't think any campaign promises are going to be complete, checked off and forgotten about. We're going to continue to work on these issues every day. I want to see us really move forward with some better mechanisms to communicate regularly how we're doing, regular report cards to the community, on not just having done, gotten that backlog of potholes, but moving forward, how are we going to continue to do? What does that look like geographically throughout our city? How does that compare across neighborhoods? And so getting those mechanisms in place is something that's going to take a little time, but I'm committed to doing over the long term.
Mayor, you said some of the criticisms of the time it's taking for sunshine requests to be filled are fair. Can you outline which criticisms you believe are fair and which aren't fair?
Look, I think anytime you put in a sunshine request, we should be working on getting those back fairly immediately. And, the way that our sunshine system is currently set up, while those requests come in through a sunshine coordinator, and we have a new sunshine coordinator, and I think she's doing a great job. She will do a great job for us. The departments themselves are responsible for responding to departmental, the specific requests, and then they go back through the Sunshine Portal coordinator. So we're working through some of the issues that each department has with regards to their assigned Sunshine respondent, and making sure that departments across the city know that it's a priority for this administration to be as transparent as possible, and working through any of the kinks along with that. I do think criticisms are fair when they're launched. Sometimes I will disagree with them, but in the case of being able to respond quickly, I think that's the role and responsibility of a government entity to do. And I do want to see us improve that. We haven't gotten all those systems improved in the first 100 days, and that's why I'm recognizing we have room for improvement, and we are working on it.
Just to make sure I understand you correctly and follow up, it's the departments that need to move faster?
There are some improvements that can be made at the departmental level, and I'm not going to throw any departments under the bus. I think that part of the issue is recognizing the role and responsibilities of each individual person in the process, and this is something that we are taking a concerted effort to make sure that every person in the chain understands their role and responsibility. And I think there has been some misunderstandings within some of that reporting structure from the Sunshine coordinator through the department and back through in. And so we are making those making that process understood by all parties. And so that will really significantly increase should decrease the time necessary to respond and increase the transparency that reporters, members of the media, and members of the public should be able to see with regards to Sunshine.
Mayor, you mentioned that you reinstated access to the DFOB.
Sorry, I will get to everybody. Yeah.
What's the status of the city emergency management agency investigations that stem from the tornado?
Thank you. That has taken a little longer than I anticipated. You may know we launched an internal investigation that was completed, I believe, 2.5 weeks ago, and immediately following that internal investigation launched the external investigation. There were some hang-ups with regards to interviewing all parties involved. It's my understanding scheduling and other things were preventing all of those interviews from taking place. I believe that those are almost completed, and so we should be wrapping up the external investigation should be wrapping up soon. It is not completed yet, to my knowledge, but should be imminent at this point.
Mayor, and so just to follow up, so the internal investigation won't be released until the external?
That's right. The internal investigation was really an effort to do information gathering that the external investigation was going to need. So our internal investigation was not conclusive by design. It was really informational gathering that was handed over to the external investigation. Yes.
You said that you reinstated access to the DFOB.
To the
jail.
That's correct.
If it was your position that the DFOB should have always had access to the city jail, then why did the city not drop charges against Janice Menson?
The charges related, it's my understanding that those charges, which came through last year, that there was a conviction involved, and that the defendant requested a trial, which was happening this week, which is happening as we speak.
Case dismissed.
Is that what happened? Is that right? That's so.
Responded.
I'm sorry?
To the avalanche of calls. Should
Shame on you, Cara Spencer. You should have responded. To the avalanche of calls and emails and silence, shame on you. It is by the grace of God that the case was dismissed, and we are all happy, but this is not justice. Janice, tell her.
She's right. This was not the justice we needed. This was not the justice that you promised us. We were very disappointed to not receive your response.
Okay.
And someone just died in jail custody again. How many more deaths? Please do something about the deaths. Please do something about the jail.
I hear
Please
you.
stand on the right side of justice, and calls and emails, pressure demands a response.
You've expressed a desire to be transparent about the jail. You've expressed a commitment to being transparent about the jail, but the mayor's office and the city has still not released the video surrounding the death of Samuel Hayes Jr. It is all that his family is asking for, just some answers.
Yeah, I hear you on that, and we have been focused on that. The videos have been not released, but the family has been invited to view the videos. I believe, so today is Thursday, and it was my intention to do that as quickly as possible. I don't want to get this wrong, but I do believe that happened on Tuesday. And we are working we will release them as soon as we can. I know that there are some pending actions that are taking place right now. I do have to say that when I learned about the death in the jail, it was a call at 12:30 in the morning. That's when I learned about it. And frankly, it was heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking, as it should be. I am immensely grateful to the staff that we have, including Colonel Johnson, Director Sean Days, who were present fairly immediately, and on site to review the information that was available at that time so that we could start to do that work. And it was a clear directive from my office to be as transparent as possible and to involve the family the best we could. But we are committed to making the jail a place that not only the DFOB can have access to regularly, but that we all feel confident that it is a place where anybody in incarceration or otherwise can feel safe.
Jail is no place to live.
Correct.
Mayor, I have a question if I could ask one. We talked to Megan Green, head of the Board of Aldermen, and she said that she would be willing to increase the amount of the Iran settlement money by $100 million. And they would start that effort in September, I guess, when they come back. Are you in favor of that also, increasing that RAMS money for the tornado victims by $100 million at least?
Well, Elliot, I am committed to supporting the tornado victims. This is the first I have learned about the president's intentions on this front, but I think we've had a really good, positive working relationship with the president's office, with honestly the entire board of alderpersons, and so as we kind of go through this break, I'm certain that we'll find a path forward here. We want to make sure, it's been critical to us to engage the federal and state funds on the front end and use our local limited resources in the ways to fill the gap. So as we kind of move through that, that's a critical piece.
Are you going to do more to try to help the homeless deal with this heat wave, especially those at the homeless tent encampment?
There's several tent encampments, and Elliot, you've been highlighting one in particular that's a fairly large one and one that has a serious amount of need.
50 people.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I will say on those particular folks, we have been working to deliver water and make sure they have access to that. It's my understanding that we've just recently signed a contract to make sure that we have additional water resources to make sure that we can get those folks access to that. It's been unprecedentedly hot. We have a lot of victims of the tornado that are still staying within their homes that are unable to really HVAC their homes, and so it's going to be a hot summer. We want to make sure that we are providing that. We've got some of the RAMS funds going towards cooling initiatives to make sure we have access to some of that.
You're going to do more to try to get ice, water, and efforts to help them.
We are committed to doing more, the water and the cooling aspects through the summer, Elliot. Yeah, you've done a lot of work to address, to highlight those needs, and that's not lost on any of us.
Mayor, we're having viewers reach out to us just within the last week telling a colleague of mine, Mayor, please don't forget about us. in reference to their struggle recovering from the tornado. Can
Of
you
course.
talk about how soon people can feel the direct impact of the state and local dollars being allocated?
Yes.
How soon will they get some
Actual
relief
funds.
feeling, you know?
Yeah. We are working on that. I just left a meeting. I will say in the coming days, we should have, at least on the local front, on the $100 million of the state funding, we are working with the governor's office. The $25 million, I think folks will start to see mid-August. Those are running through, in accordance to the state laws, through RFPs that a nonprofit and other organizations have access to apply for now. The city has applied for some of those funds, but it's my understanding that they should start trickling, being seen in the public by mid-August. We're hoping to get the RAMS funds out sooner. We do have some of the stabilization funds are getting deployed. The electrical reconnect programs are up and running and have been connecting people back their electricity as we speak. So some of those funds are out. They're not nearly as fast as people need them to be, and that's sometimes how government works.
If I can ask a follow-up, unrelated, you mentioned the board commissioners for the police department. In just the last 24 hours, maybe you didn't expect your sheriff being in the headlines so much in your first 100 days, but he made headlines last night with hiring Sonia Jenkins-Gray as his HR director. What's your reaction to that? Because holding that position and also being on the board.
I was surprised by that. I had spoken to the governor about whether a person on the board of the police oversight board could simultaneously be a city employee, and it was my understanding that was not possible, and that was a conflict. And so I was really surprised to see that. But of course, I had no say in any of those actions, whether it was who was serving on the board or whether or not that person could serve simultaneously as a member of the board and an employee.
Do you think they can?
To me, it does present some serious concerns or potential conflicts. So I was surprised to see that. And I think it's important to make sure that there's separation there. You may have seen me discussing some issues of transparency and disclosures when it came to that. And so I think it's important that we have those separations there.
Does that go beyond? Does that go beyond a recusal? George Brown obviously is.
But Don Brown, well, Don Brown is not a voting member, but you're right. Yeah, I mean, and so I think I think perceived conflicts, whether they're real or perceived, whether your recusal can to me, I think it's important that we're building trust in the community when it comes to public safety in particular, and I want to see that.
What's your message to law enforcement in the city of St. Louis? Because we reported just last night that there's a corrections officer in the jail shooting these pellet ball gun projectiles at inmates in their cells. Person's on leave now.
Mark, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I will look at that. That's a horrifying
what
situation.
What does accountability look like under the Cara Spencer administration?
Well, I can't speak to that again. I hadn't seen that. I will look at that after this. But I think to me, it's incredibly vital that anybody serving in a public safety capacity and is upholding the utmost standards of transparency and just accountability. I'm horrified to think that somebody who is employed by our jail would be involved in something that is reckless and endangering the lives of those in incarceration. So I will be looking into that. I'll get back to you on that, Mark. That I didn't see that.
And as it pertains to the jail video, how do you think about releasing that beyond just the family to the broader public?
Yeah, I haven't seen the video, Mark. So I think I don't know the contents of it specifically. I have been briefed to some extent on it, but I think the more transparent we can be, the better. So I will lean towards that. I don't want to be violating anybody's, when it comes to HIPAA and the specific rights of of the person whose life is lost. I don't want to be doing that and being disrespectful to their family, but I think we should be erring on the side of disclosure.
Mayor, are you ruling out suing over the state takeover, filing a lawsuit?
Filing a lawsuit. We are not ruling that out. I've mentioned that in the past. We are continuing to evaluate how this plays out. As I've said previously, when it comes to the state takeover, so many of these issues are really unfolding in some the reality where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. And so we'll be seeing how this plays out. But I am and remain in favor of local control of our police department. It's been a.
Which way are you leaning, Mayor?
I right now I'm standing strong right here on 100 days, and I am not. I haven't had a cocktail. I'm not leaning any which way. So.
Mayor, I think earlier you mentioned that you do have now someone leading that recovery effort for the tornado.
I do. We do.
Clarify. I guess the last time we talked about RFPs that went out. What exactly does that role look like? What are they responsible for? I think some people assume that would be like a SEMA responsibility, but can you
the SEMA responsibility is a little different, and we, as you may remember, as was alluded to with the discussion on the tornado siren investigation, the director of SEMA has been placed on leave. That happened some time ago. But when it comes to the recovery office, this is a little bit different. So SEMA, our city emergency management team, really is tasked with making sure that the sirens are deployed, that we're alerting residents in the case of emergencies, that we're present at large events, and really being proactive about things that could present an emergency, whether it's flooding, whether it's another threat of a tornado, whether earthquake, all these other pieces. And so that's what the SEMA is responsible for. The recovery office is really a long-term focus on the recovery for this specific incident, the May 16th tornado. So building community engagement around what the rebuild can and should look like. It looks like, helping to just, to really organizing the deployment of resources, the financial accounting when it comes to what we are doing so that we can hopefully be reimbursed by FEMA for some of the public assistance that the city is involved in. There's a host of components that is specific and really related to this incident, the May 16th tornado, that the recovery office will be focusing on.
You mentioned the rebuilding. We actually talked with homeowners today. They're stressing out about housing.
Yeah.
What can you say about the help that's going to be there for renters and homeowners to actually rebuild? Or are we going to be looking at these, in some cases, slaughtered houses for years to come?
This is going to be a multi-year effort, and it's going to be years to recover. I think when I think about the Joplin tornado and the over 10 years it took to really close that loop even with regards to their FEMA involvement. It's traditional, unfortunately, that with a large scale of damage that we saw, like we saw on the 16th, that it's going to be a long time. That being said, for homeowners, we are encouraging them to right now apply for some of the stabilization funds and the home repair through that process I mentioned on stlrecovers.com. We want folks to engage. We want folks to log, to ask for what they need so we can try to start addressing the needs in our community. When it comes to renters, this is a little tougher because what we're encouraging folks right now is to go through FEMA and get the assistance in being rehoused, whether, looking like a new deposit and the first few months. They can, in many cases, provide many, many months of rental assistance to get folks, get their lives restabilized, and some grants to get some of the household things that they need. And so we are encouraging folks to take advantage of those and to utilize those needed federal funds on that front.
Mayor, I understand the city doesn't, I understand you don't control the public school board.
Yeah.
But the mayor's office and SLDC would play a significant role in whatever development comes next. So if the public schools do close half of their buildings, as that proposal suggests they might do, what's the plan?
Right now, as I mentioned during the campaign, I'm committed to having somebody within my office really engaging on that. We have somebody in that role right now we have a couple folks that are kind of liaising on that front while we work out the sort of details of the different components of the mayor's office as it relates to tornado recovery and some of the other things that we're also going to be tackling within the mayor's office. That being said, our role, while it is not governance in nature, we are going to be working with our St. Louis Public School Boards to understand just how that will impact our families. We are right now trying to stabilize the lives of those within the tornado zone. Many of those public school students are being displaced because their schools have been impacted. So we don't have a plan at the moment, but I can tell you that the mayor's office will be engaged in the process moving forward.
As a follow-up to that question, though, can I ask, though, because
Sure.
when we talk about infrastructure for our residents, they think about the streets, water, but isn't education part of that city infrastructure that we can offer to folks maybe considering to call St. Louis home?
It is. I think you're absolutely right, and I think people don't think about schools as really playing a role in the economic vitality. But you see people move out because of issues related to education, whether it's a special school district need or some other things that are playing into the decisions of parents to leave our city. And when you look at the population demographics in our city right now, that massive population loss is really being led by households with kids, and that is depleting the SLPS population. And so it's devastating, and we have to address it. I think right now, we're really focused on trying to keep the folks impacted by the tornado here by regular communication. Partnering with SLPS was really important to us when it came to debris removal, when it came to engagement, so we could try to capture and really communicate directly with those families that were here, we're engaged, and we want to hear the needs. Those town halls were designed to hear from residents, hear what their needs are as we started to try to build out the programs to serve our community.
To what extent has your office engaged with the National Weather Service at all? Is there a role or?
There is, yeah. We are engaged. I mean, our CEMA communicates regularly with the emergency the National Weather Service, and interestingly, I mean, we're hoping to strengthen that. I think that's a key component to having a really effective emergency management system. Mikhail, did you?
Mikhail Arlington, Africa. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. We met today with Julian Nix.
Oh,
Yes, talking about transparency with the small contractors. So hopefully that information will get to you.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah, and we've been trying to get a sit-down meeting with you. I know you're awfully busy, so what's the proper protocol?
I know you're meeting tomorrow with Otis Williams. No, you're not part of the meeting? Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
getting into that.
Okay. Well, I'm disappointed to hear that, but I thought you were going to. But
You said you what?
I thought I'm disappointed to hear that. But that, needless to be said, was this related to the tornado? Is this related to the MBWE, or what is this?
We got a program that covers all. Remember we talked about it on the phone, but it never got to you. So
Which program? I'll confirm. Is this related to tornado stuff, Mikhail?
tornado stuff is
Okay.
So we'd like to sit down with you. Did it include small businesses, regardless race, creed, color? And also, we'll make you aware that tomorrow we'll have a date on, we got a tractor trailer that's coming in
Okay.
for the community, for appliances.
Oh.
And whatnot. So I was told, okay, I was told that you have a warehouse. We don't have a warehouse to store it, so we need somewhere to
Okay.
take it to.
Okay.
So
We do. Did you talk to Julian about that?
No, I didn't know that was his.
That would be
But see,
under
by-
him.
By that time, I had to talk to the people and wasn't sure about it. They finally called after the meeting with Julian.
Okay. Okay. I think Julian is the right person on the warehouse. On the other issue, I'm not immediately clear on what the other issue is, but would it be best if I talked to Julian first about what you talked with him about, and then figure out how to?
Yes, you talk to Julian so you be clear about what we want to talk to you
Okay.
about.
All right. I'll talk to
The
Julian.
buck stops with you.
Yes, it does.
Yes, I always thought so.
Yes.
But who do we need to contact once Julian talked to you? set up a meeting?
I'll talk to Julian,
You got my card.
and then we'll circle back.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
Mark.
this, 100 days in, is this job what you thought it would be?
Of course not. I mean, who would think it would be? But you know, we are working hard, and you know, we're trying to also have some fun while getting some things done. And you know, I don't think that anybody could ever anticipate what being being mayor is like. Certainly after with a tornado and all the pieces. But I feel good about the first 100 days mark, and I feel good about what we're going to do for the next. I don't know how many more days are there. 1,000, I guess. 300 times 4, something like that. Yes. Yeah, Austin.
2 or 3 minutes left. So
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the future of that minority hiring?
The minority hiring thing or the minority contracting piece that yeah.
Is the city kind of just walking away from it?
No, the city's not walking away from it. No, we did, so there are a lot of concerns under the changing federal guidelines here that we've gotten some legal opinions that could put some of our federal funding at risk. So we, out of caution, we paused the program on Monday, but we are in the process of building out what a program that could be compliant with federal law looks like, and we will be announcing that in the near future. We're working through some meetings with stakeholders to make sure that we're all sort of aligned on what that can and should look like to be most to be compliant and to really meet the goals of our community.
Days, weeks, Mayor?
I'm hoping days, maybe a couple weeks, but I don't think it'll be. It should. We're not trying to drag this out. We're trying to build some consensus, really, Austin. So I think it's kind of dependent on kind of where we all land as a community.
Mayor, this is from a colleague of mine, but we were looking at the city's cooling center webpage, and there's a list of water fountain locations there
Yes.
that appear to be just fire hydrants. Are those supposed to be like active and flowing on days like today where it's hot outside?
I am not totally sure about that, Sean. But
They're water fountains.
that are
or
attached.
Fire hydrants.
Yeah.
Throughout, and they're running.
Yeah, I think they're in conjunction with the fire hydrants.
Okay, so they're
Yeah, but
supposed to be running, because I think there's one at least that my coworker looked at that he said wasn't.
Let us know.
yeah, let us
I'll
know.
get
That's
your
not our
information
intention. Yeah.
and then
Okay. Anybody?
Mayor, I know you're trying to get the RAM settlement money out the door.
Yes.
It's been a long time. Do you think this process has been too long in getting aid to the citizens who are tornado victims?
You know, I simultaneously believe that we are doing everything we can, and I also know that it's taking a lot longer than I want it to, and that citizens need it to. That's a humbling thing to say, but I also recognize that, you know, when we're talking about distributing tax dollars and public funds, we've got to do so in a way that really is lawful, and so that does take time to kind of get through some of those pieces. But we are working hard to get them out, Elliot.
Thank you.
One or two real
I think-
quick.
I think that, yes.
I just want to ask, with what happened on the other side of the state,
Yeah.
Kansas City, they're trying to get more funds for their stadiums, put that passed.
Yeah.
So we're getting money too, right? Does that does that help at all, maybe with the tornado relief? Does that money get allocated
Yes.
that way?
As part of that package that included funding to the Kansas City stadiums, there was allocated $100 million to the city of St. Louis for our tornado victims. That goes through the state's public safety department, and we are working through the ways in which that can be deployed. Our focus right now is on debris removal and the demolition that will be a part of the debris removal under FEMA guidelines. They kind of lump it all in. It's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars to get the debris out of our communities. So that's really our focus. We've communicated that with the governor's office. We believe we have a partner in the governor in getting that done. It's going to be a big Herculean task to do that. And we're going to be working with the state to deploy those funds as we can. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.